Hey everyone, welcome back to custom carving. As you see, this is just a few pieces that I'm working on at the moment. This video is going to be a tutorial, so it will be longer than usual, and I'm going to go through each step step by step for everyone. I've had a few comments on the videos asking if I can do a quick tutorial of how I do a wood spirit, so I'm going to go through that now. Going to get to the carving. Please remember, if you do like the channel, please like and subscribe. It does help the channel out. It means we can do more things as we go on. So I'm going to get straight to it. Now I'm going to be using a Dremel 4000 hooked up with the flex shaft and the Kutzall Burr predominantly for this video. I've got some wood. This is just some silver birch, a dead straightforward log. But as I say, this is just going to be a beginner video, so there will be a lot of talking in it. If you don't like it, by all means skip to the end and you'll see the end result. But hopefully we'll turn this log into a wood spirit by the end of it, and hopefully we'll all learn something. So going to get on with the carving now. See you in a sec. So the first thing we've got to do with any standard log like this, before we actually even think about the carving, is really just to get rid of this bark, because once you carve it, it's not great to actually carve into. If you see the rings there, you can see the different. This is going to be the good wood to carve into, and this just is going to be crap basically. So I'm going to just take all of this back again, just using the Kutzall Burr. I'll speed it up for you guys, and then at the end of it I'll show you how I draw them on. Before you do any carving as well, guys, just remember to always use some sort of dust mask. The amount of dust that these actually produce is phenomenal, and you don't want that in your lungs. So this is just a standard sort of RZ one that I use. Again, it keeps the dust on the table, because I've not got an extractor table at the moment, but it keeps the majority of it out your lungs, and that's really what you're trying to do. Plus some woods you'll find can be quite toxic, so really invest in one of these. They're only about £3 or £4. I'll put a link in the comments as well, so you can get one on Amazon, but dead straightforward, and it stops all the nasty stuff going in your lungs. So there we go, most of the bark taken off. I left that on because I thought it's quite an interesting feature on the logs, so it's always nice to keep something on there, so you can tell it was originally a log, not a 2x4 or something like that. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is get a centre line somewhere. So in this log, just make sure it stands that way, or it stands that way, so I could have it either way really. So I'm going to go for the straightest, which is that, and then I'm going to just draw initially a centre line down here. So you've got your centre line. The next most important thing that you're going to have to draw on there is probably going to be the nose. Now the way that I do it is try and get the same pitch on both sides, and the same length, so otherwise you'll get a funny looking nose. So here I'm just going to keep the pitch roughly like that. This guy's going to have a reasonably sized nose. Again, there's no right or wrong. You can do them as big or as small as you actually want. I like this guy with kind of a big nose coming here, and in fact I've done that a bit too high for my liking, so that's why I've started off with pencil. Going to bring that down a little bit. I think, to be honest with you, the log that I'm working with is a little bit small for the design that I actually wanted to put on it, but we'll make it work. So here we go. Again, pitch wise, try and keep it as symmetrical as you can. That's slightly out, so I'm going to go a bit further out and then bring it in. Then you want to draw on your eye sockets. You're going to have eyeballs probably in there, and then you're probably going to have obviously your eyebrows above there. Then you want to do some form of a beard. Now with this guy, I think I'm going to draw in the mustache so that it's slightly blowing that way. I just think it'll give it a better look. And again, we bring him down there and around there, which means that we'll have the mouth somewhere up here once we're actually done carving, and hopefully the beard and the whiskers just going around here, with the eyebrows in here. So that's it, dead straightforward. As I say, these don't have to be that detailed. At the end of the day, it is a wood spirit. Doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as there's some form of face. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do, again, I use the Kutzall Burr and the Dremel 4000, is cut around your lines. Now I've got these lines pretty much the way I want, although I still think his nose is a little bit big, so I'm just going to adjust it with the permie. I'm going to bring it there, I think, and then we're going to have the pitch about there, and then again swishing around like that for the moustache, and the same for the beard. Try not to keep your lines perfectly straight. I just think it makes it look more natural if you don't. So these are my main cut lines that I'm looking at straight away. So what I'm going to do is, for the first initial cuts, just again using the flame burr, I'm going to go straight down like that so it gets a good level of depth. The aim of this is going to be to make the nose pop, because the nose is always going to be the bit that sticks out the most. So all of this will be getting taken away at some point, just to really emphasize that nose and make it look like a normal face. So I'm going to go ahead, start that now and speed it up for you. Biggest thing to remember here, when you're just starting the first sort of part, remember your nose is going to want to stick out about that much, so don't be afraid about going in deep. You're probably going to want to go down for something this sort of size. Ultimately it's going to be ½ an inch at least popping out, so don't be afraid to go in deep with your lines, and then we can always remove the excess material and feather it back afterwards. So there we go, that's the initial first cuts done. As you can see, I've gone reasonably deep, but we're going to have to go at least, I'd say, the same depth again once we feather everything back. Just remember, when you are actually carving, the main bulk of the time is actually going to be feathering the excess material away to make everything that you want to pop stand out. So that's going to be the next part. Again, just using this Kutzall flame burr. There's lots of burrs on the market. For me, Kutzall I've found are the best ones for any harder woods, and a lot of the stuff that I use is probably slightly harder. I know that a lot of the videos out there are with things like cottonwood bark and things like that, which are really soft, which you'd probably get away with most burrs, to be honest. But the aim of the game now is going to be literally at an angle to just feather this away so it looks like a natural slope. Again, all of this is going to get feathered away, and the whole aim is to make this nose really pop out. So these are eventually going to be the cheekbones, but again, just taking this excess material away to emphasize the nose and to really make this pop out at this stage. So going to get on with that and speed it up so you can see what I mean. So as you can see, we're already starting to get a little bit of depth there for the nose, but again, for me, we need that to be a lot deeper. So I'm just going to re-go around all of my lines that I've done to get that extra depth. But as you can see, it's already starting to pop. I think the aim is really to get that probably twice that depth, again taking all this material away, and then we can work on the beard and the moustache a little bit more. So I'm going to go straight into that. So as you can see, roughly that is where we want to be depth wise, I would say, on a piece like this. So we've got that nose sticking out. Again, this is a gradual sort of increase into the nose, so it does look quite naturally like a nose. Now what I'm going to do is just take the actual nose back, shape it a little bit, and then get onto the eyes. So the next thing I'm going to do, again with the nose, now it's shaped a little bit, is just get the flame burr, try and get it underneath to just create a nostril and make it look quite realistic. So I'm going to pop that in there, up that way and up that way, before I then move on to the eyes, and then we can shape the nose a little bit more and make sure it does still look like a real nose. Pretty happy with that for a nose. Looks pretty realistic to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, again using the Kutzall flame burr, just undercut all the eyes, which will create more of a shadow before we actually put the eyeballs in. So literally I'm going to get this, jam it in there and move it along so it creates that natural shadow. Again, just neaten all of this out as well so we can have some cheekbones before we put the eyeballs in. Okay, so now we're getting pretty much to the eyes and the mouth and everything else before we start with the beard detailing. Now you can do these just with a straight hole going in there as the eye, or if you want to make it a bit more natural, try and draw the eyes on, trying to make them symmetrical and roughly the right size for the piece that you're doing. Eyes can pretty much make or break a piece in my mind. Again, they're not symmetrical there, so always doing with a pencil. You want it roughly the same shape in sort of an oval shape. Okay, and then the piece that I use typically for this is just a Dremel burr that I've got, which is this standard one. And then what I do with it is literally just go up and under and then down and under for that, and it creates a reasonably natural looking eyeball in my mind. And then you can do it again and smooth it out if you want to have sort of the eyelids. It just all depends how detailed you want to go. So this is a Dremel burr. I'll try and look at the number for it and put it in the comments for you, but this is just what I use. Literally dig it in, go all the way around, try and keep them the same sort of size. Not completely happy with those eyes actually, so I'm probably going to redraw them on and then go from there. Okay, so I've redrawn those on. Literally I'm going to aim to go straight in and around there, and then in a downwards motion on the bottom lid, and then probably go underneath as well just to give them a bit of an eyelid. So here we go. Okay, so you can see you've got the basic eyeball shape there. Now what I'm going to do is just take it down a little bit inside there, make it more cylindrical. For this, typically I'll use again, it's a Kutzall cylinder burr, just to try and get the shape and the outline in there so it looks like a normal eyeball. So I'm just going to change that across, and here we go. Starting to get some good depth in there, so now what I'm going to do is just move to this diamond flame burr and have a look at what we can do with it, just to get a bit more depth in there and a bit more definition into the actual eyeball itself. Okay, so now I've got the basic eye outline in. What I'm going to do is I've got this aluminium Kutzall Burr, and I'm just going to go underneath there to create a mini eyelid as well, just so it makes it again look a bit more realistic. Again, you don't have to do any of this, you can make it as basic or as detailed as you want. It's just something that I choose to do on. So there we go, that's the eyes pretty much done for this part. Again, you can paint them, you can do whatever you want with them. You can put the little circles in to make it more of an eye, but in fact I'm going to do that actually on this one. So just bear with me and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so that's pretty much the eyes done on this guy and the nose. So what we still need to do now is just put some eyebrows in. So again, pretty straightforward. Again, I'm just going to use the Kutzall Burr initially to bring them along like that. And then we need to put his mouth in there. Again, I'm going to use the Kutzall Burr for that and just push it in. And then we're going to create a bit more depth around here, a bit more depth on the cheekbones, and then obviously do the beard hairs as well. So eyebrows pretty much put in, except putting the hairs in. Now what I'm going to do is try and push the mouth in and create a bit of a lip there for the rest of the beard hairs to go around. So again, just using the Kutzall Flame Burr for this. The eyes and the eyebrows in. I'm going to go straight onto the beard hairs now before I actually start smoothing them all out and sanding them out and making sure he's all in proportion. So all I'm going to be using for that is I've got an aluminium cutter which is just here, and literally that's what's going to make the hairs in it. But what I will do before that is just go over it in a few lines with the Kutzall Flame Burr, just to give it an even texture really. There we go, the round cylindrical aluminium cutter. I just prefer this for using to actually put the beard hairs in, so we'll get on with that now. So there we go, basic wood spirit. Just going to sand him down now with a flap sander and just get him all smoothed out except for the beard, and then we'll add the varnish. There we go, from log to wood spirit, literally in this case, it's probably taken about an hour. Just remember always as well, once you've finished your carving, try and get it finished as quick as possible, because if you don't, it will crack. Now it depends what finish you use. Personally, I like to use Danish oil if it's something like wood like this, so it brings out the wood. But obviously just make sure that you do it as soon as you can, really. And always remember, if you can, sign your work. If I'm being honest with this guy, probably did the eyes a little bit too big and the nose on this one, but either way, it's just a little wood spirit. I'm happy with it. I'm probably going to burn the whiskers a little bit and then sand it off and then varnish. So hang on and we'll do that now. So nearly getting to the end of this guy. All I'm going to do now is just put some wood stain on the beard and the eyebrows, which makes everything else pop. And then I'm probably going to use a clear varnish on this guy just to see what he finishes up like. But once I've got the stain on, I'm just going to sand it back as well. And that way you tend to get a really good finish. I know the burning at the minute has probably gone a little bit too far for my liking, but once it's all done, you probably won't even tell. And as I say, this is just a wood spirit, so there's no way that it has to look. It's literally a little spirit, so make sure you get it in the nostrils. And don't worry too much about being too neat when it comes to the wood staining, because you can always sand anything off that you want to at a later date. It's just a case of, for me, I like to make sure that the darker areas I've got a good coverage. And then there's been a few times where I've actually pretty much sanded back the whole piece to where I wanted to get it the way that I looked. But this one hopefully shouldn't be too bad. Just get the wood stain onto the beard. And then what I'm going to do is let it dry, come back, give it a light sanding in all the areas that I want, and in fact with this guy I might even give him brown eyes, just to again make those pop, I think. So literally just slap it on. Now some people wipe it off. For me, I would rather not. I'd rather just cover the piece to where I want, and then sand it back to get the highlights on the piece. All in, it's probably, I mean, this one's probably taken me just over an hour. And I think, do you know what, it don't look too bad. However, we'll see what it looks like when he's done. Just trying to keep the wood stain just on the eyes, so we can leave the whites and hopefully make them look a little bit more natural before I put the varnish on. But either way, guys, the main thing that people look for in a wood spirit is the nose. If you get the nose looking half decent, it will sell if you want it to sell, or it'll look pretty cool in your garden. So do whatever you want to do. I'm going to let this guy dry and then just come back and sand in some highlights, and hopefully we will have a finished product. So don't forget, guys, if you've enjoyed watching this video or learned something, please like and subscribe, and keep tuned for lots more videos that'll be coming over the next few weeks. But for now, he is pretty much the way I want him looking until we get to doing a light sand. But there we are. Just remember, guys, as well, when you finish your carving, try and get some sort of protective finish on it as soon as you can. I've had no end of pieces where once I've finished, I've left them to the side for a week or so. I've actually taken a few of them in the house by mistake, and then they've completely cracked and ruined everything. So the sooner you can get some form of finish on, the better, just to protect the wood. And I also find it slows down any cracking. So there we go. Again, I'm just liberally putting it on. This one that I'm using is Antique Pine. I just quite like the finish that it gives it at the end. So here he is, Mr. Wood Spirit. Let him dry. I'm going to put some on the top. And then I am going to wipe some of the excess off just because I've applied it a little bit too liberally with this piece, just to get a slightly light colour. You can leave it on like this, but then if you do, in my experience, it just goes a little bit too dark. So just about finished with this guy. All I'm going to do now is sand him back using my sanding flap sander. If you want to see how I've made one of those, there should be a video in the links as well. So just going to try and get a few highlights to really make him pop. So we're going to get on straight away. There we go. So reasonably happy with this guy. He's not my best wood spirit, but again, for the case of the tutorial, I think he's come out pretty good. All I'm going to do now is put a clear coat of varnish on him, and that's him done. So if you've liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and there'll be lots more videos and tutorials coming out over the next few weeks. All right, thanks, bye.